Okay, so I'm going to kick off the science and technology section here. It's pretty straightforward what we do. You can see our goals at the top there: maintain and improve wild trout populations, water and aquatic habitat quality, stream flow, and the fishing experience. And we do those through four different departments that we have here that pretty much just match those goals 1 through 4, and that is fisheries biology, water quality and aquatic habitat, aquatic ecology, hydrology and water management, and then social science and economics. And you'll be hearing from presentations that relate to all 4 of these things here coming up. So I'm going to start off with the usual water supply report, and that'll lead directly into Christina's presentation on the Lower Henry's Fork, and then she'll hand off to Jack McLaren, and then Amber Roseberry, and then I'll wrap up again at the end of the science and technology section here with some information on the economic value of fishing. 2 other presentations, one by Bryce Oldemeyer relating to aquatic insects, and then another one by Matt Hively will be later in the program. Those 2 folks work with us in the science and technology program, but they also do other things, and so their presentations are later on in the program. Okay, so let's start off with the current water situation. We are about a little over halfway through water year 2021. And well, I'll start with the good news here. Island Park Reservoir winter outflow this past winter was 356 CFS. That's 99% of average. And the 4-year mean winter flow was 489 CFS. That's over the last 4 winters. That's 136% of average, and the highest we've had since the 4 years stretch from 1997 to 2000. What's interesting about that is that the water supply we had to work with over that time period was only 102% of average. And that's nothing like what we experienced back in the late 90s, where the water years were closer to 130% average. So we actually turned sort of just an average batch of water years into well above average winter flow. How did that happen? Well, the carryover in Island Park Reservoir at the end of the irrigation season has been 20,000 acre feet above what would be expected based on water supply alone. And that happened 3 years in a row. You know, you could do that once and maybe it's an accident, but you do it 3 years in a row and it actually says something. And we'll be hearing more about the programs that allowed that to happen as we go through the evening. One thing I will point out, this is the graph of flow through Box Canyon, and you can see, like, from here December through March, that's the critical winter flow period. And it actually turns out that it's the flow in Box Canyon that the fish respond to, not just what's coming out of the dam. So the Buffalo River contributes to that, and you can see that it basically increased and was at or above average and very close to the river's natural flow all winter. And that's about as good as you can get in a regulated system, is to have the river's natural flow going down Box Canyon. Okay, that's the end of the good news. There isn't any more of that. Bad news. Well, so climatically, our snowpack, SWE, that stands for snow water equivalent. That's how much water is stored in the snowpack. Ours peaked this year about 3 weeks early. That's bad news for starters. We didn't really accumulate, well, we didn't get any new snow after about the 3rd week in March. Usually we continue to accumulate snow into the middle of April. And that peak was only 85% of average to begin with. So we had a poor snowpack. Right now, there's only 39% of average snow left, which is really bad to get to late May here, and we're only 39% of average. One reason for that is April was actually the driest April in a 33-year record. That was really bad. And as a result, precipitation for the water year to date is only 82% of average, despite the fact that we had about 8 good days of rain. All that did was take it from 75% of average up to 82% of average. So, you know, it's dry when we're getting really excited that we're quote unquote up to 82% of average. Stream flow kind of reflects all this other stuff. It's been 84% of average for the water year to date. That's the water year that started last October 1st. Worse than that was that stream flow has been in the range of 50 to 70% of average most of the spring. So, you know, March, April, May. And several locations flow has been alarmingly low, down in the lowest bottom, you know, 10th percentile. So that'd be like the bottom 3 or 4 years in the period of record. Inflow to Henry's Lake, the Upper Teton River, Henry's Fork at Island Park, those have all been very close to their periods of record lows from late winter till it rained here last week. So that's bad news. What's all that mean about predictions for the upcoming summer? Well, we're for sure going to end up in the bottom 10 of the last 43 water years in terms of natural stream flow. And the way things are going right now, I'd say we may end up in the bottom 2 or 3. There's a decent chance that we'll end up with the water supply as low as 2016. And just for reference, 2016 ranked second driest out of the last 43 years. There's a pretty good chance we may actually end up with either the driest or second driest this year. Reservoir draft, of course, that's one thing we really look at. When will that be needed first in the season to meet irrigation demand downstream? On average, it's June 25th. That's about when release is needed from the reservoir. Last year, we enjoyed, you know, when it clear into July 4th, and the year before, I think it was like July 12th or 13th. So we beat average quite a bit the last couple of years. This year, we'll be lucky to get to June 10th. This has kind of been a moving target this year just because that rain definitely bought us a week or so. But I'm thinking June 10th will probably be about when flow will need to be increased out of Island Park Dam to deliver water for irrigation. There's a decent chance that the Fall River flow will just get down to its bare minimum, which is about 50 CFS. And I'm sure you all remember in some of those really dry years, driving up the highway, crossing the Fall River on the Highway 20 bridge and looking down at essentially a dry stream channel, a little trickle of water down the middle. We'll probably see that at some point during the summer, maybe not as early and for as long as in 2016, but it will happen at some point. Outflow from Island Park is going to be really high, 1,500 CFS at least. There's a good chance it might get higher than that. And it's going to be high from late June through late July. It'll probably be about 4 weeks of really high flows. You know, the last few years we've gotten up there 1,200, 1,500 CFS, but that has only, you know, it's only happened for about a week, 7 or 8, 9 days. This year, I'm thinking it's going to be an extended period. So where's the reservoir going to end up? Well, it could end up, you know, anywhere between 17 to 47% full. That's just based on the actual numbers and output from my predictive model. But again, there's a decent chance we're going to be as bad as 2016 at, you know, around 15, 16, 17% full. And this photo is from 2016. So I'm thinking we'll probably see something like that. One thing that's kind of, you know, good to have a perspective on, I've heard a lot of people say that, boy, the fishing's really great last year and the hatches were great, and it's because we've had all these good water years since the drought. And in reality, that is actually not true. As I said earlier, these last 4 years, yeah, they were a lot better than what we had before, but they were just barely average. This is the longest period of record that I have in the watershed. Goes back to 1930. This is the river's natural flow that accrues between Henry's Lake and Ashton. So it's the upper Henry's Fork watershed. And you'll notice that those last 4 quote unquote good water years in the Henry's Fork, there was only one of them that actually was above average and the other 4 were below average. And so the point of that is just that when we had good winter flows and good trout populations and all that, it wasn't because we had a lot of water to work with. It was because of the programs, again, that you're going to hear a little bit more about later this evening. And then the other thing to notice is that the last 20 years have been really dry. 13 of the last 20 have been below the long-term average. And this is not unique to the Henry's Fork. This is happening throughout the West. We are in a very long-term drought, roughly, that goes back 20 years. A lot of our neighboring states and watersheds are in a lot worse shape than we are. So we have a lot to be thankful for there, but you know, who knows when or if we'll get out of this pattern, and it may well be that a year like 2019 here, you see a little bit above average. That may be as good as we get. We get one of those every few years. So we're definitely in an extended drought, and we're definitely in one this year. So I said there wasn't any more good news. Maybe there's a tiny bit of possibly good news. I mentioned earlier that for the last 3 years, the carryover in Island Park Reservoir was 20,000 acre feet above what we would expect based on water supply. So we beat that 3 years in a row. Can we repeat that this year? That'll be, the real test to see how our programs are really going to stand up in an extreme case here. So since the 2016 drought, we have implemented a whole bunch of projects, and you'll hear about most of these here. We fully built out our water quality data network. Almost all the stations now transmit data in real time. That gives us the ability to monitor water quality, things like turbidity coming out of Island Park Reservoir. They also give you the opportunity through our website to actually go on there and look at water temperatures or look at turbidity on your own before you head out to the river. Predictive models, all those numbers I just gave you, those were outputs of models that we've developed since 2016. And the predictions have really helped water managers because the predictions actually feed into item number 3 here, which is our precision water management program. And that kind of consists of the predictions, real-time stream and canal gauging, and communication of all that information to water users and water managers. Farms and Fish is a new program since 2016. Daniel will tell you all about that here in a little later on. We've done some real groundbreaking research here on the possibility of using managed aquifer recharge as a fisheries conservation tool. We published a paper in an international journal last year, I think, can't remember anymore, last year on this subject. It was probably the first of its kind ever to investigate the use of aquifer recharge for fisheries conservation. And Christina will say a little bit more about that, as well as her project on the Lower Henry's Fork, which is another program that we've implemented since the drought as